Well, here we are at Harker Oval. I'm with Michael McEntyre, the West's Secretary. Mate, this ground, a lot of history. Talk us through a few of the things that you've witnessed in your lifetime here.
Well, I started watching football here about 1954, so I can go back that far, but it's shared with Lambton New Lambton Cricket. It's now called West Cricket, so one of the big issues is obviously having this concrete, a very hard pitch in the middle of winter here, but we overcome that issue. But it's a great old ground, iconic. Here, the grandstand that we are walking into, that's the replacement grandstand. The original wooden one burnt down in the late 70s, and this is what we've got today. Probably it needs a bit of refurbishment, but it's a great place. Yeah, some great games have played here in both football and cricket, and it's just, you know, the centre of rugby league is how West people regard it. It's terrific.
You say the grandstand was nearly burnt down.
It was burnt down.
Just elaborate a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, how did it burn down?
Oh, there are many stories that circulate about what happened there, but I think it was just an electrical fault and the thing burnt down, and it was out for a season. I'm not quite sure what year it was, somewhere in the late 70s, and that's the replacement we've got now. Yeah, so as I said, both the cricket and football. The ground's name's Alfred Harker Memorial Oval. Dr. Harker was the club doctor for many years, and in the 50s they had a subscription and they built the clock tower and put his name out the front. So it's just now it was formerly New Lambton Oval, and it's now known as Harker Oval. Yeah, so it's a great old place. The floodlights first went in 1968. The first match in that was a pre-season match between West and South, and there was an almighty brawl happened down in that corner down there. I was here in the night, and a very, very exciting night. So that's the Oval. The club itself, West, has been going for many years, obviously. They had the drought between 1922 and 1961, so they went 39 years without winning a premiership. I hired a bloke called Rex Elvin as the captain coach, and the first year he captain coached them, they won it, and West realistically hasn't looked backwards since then. They've had lots of high-profile coaches here, Johnny Raper, Dennis Ward. Probably the one that's most revered of all, there's John Hobby, who was here from 66 through till 69, and it's always been one of the leading clubs, and other clubs tend not like West because of the success. They have some fairly derogatory nicknames for the place, but West have learnt to live with that, and the Leagues Club in itself is a highly successful business and are very, very supportive of the football club, and it's just been a very good place to be.
Mate, you said to me before you've been coming here for many a year. Is there one or two moments that you'll remember from this hello turf of Harker Oval that you'll always remember?
Both in football and cricket, yeah. There's some games back in the 60s, which as a young bloke you tend to remember them more. That brawl down there was one of the greats. The game against Maitland in 1965 when Kel O'Shea was at his prime when he was captain coach of Maitland. There are a lot of them. They all tend to morph into one over a period of time. But there's been some great days here at Harker Oval, and growing up as a kid in Lambton, all you wanted to do was play football for West and cricket for Lambton New Lambton, and this was the centre of the place. So yeah, quite a memorable place. I suppose like any area, you develop your ties, and young blokes growing up, well, not so much these days. In those days, it was just football and cricket here at Harker. And those were the days when people played both football and cricket. These days, they tend to specialise a little in one or the other. But hold some great memories. There used to be a fence from the canteen down then. You used to have to pay extra to sit in the grandstand. There used to be an old scoreboard down there, almost as big as the Sydney Cricket, where the containers are, the Sydney Cricket Ground scoreboard, and that was where the scorers were kept. Now it's done electronically out the back of us. Ford Oval was developed in the early 60s, and that's where the schoolboys, up till then the schoolboys played all their games here. Now they played out at Ford Oval. So the Leagues Club's put a lot of money into the facilities here, which is terrific, the community contribution. Also the Kenish Oval's out the back, named after former director Butch Kenish, who formed the West Schoolboys back in the late 50s.
And one of the great things about suburban grounds is you can bring the car in.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
How good is that?
Yeah, the car in, and some grounds they charge you $2 to take the car in, but you know that doesn't happen here. So you know, with a good crowd here, you get the hill full of cars, and it's terrific. A terrific atmosphere here.
Mate, how would you rate the modern day Western Suburbs Rugby League side compared to yesteryear? I mean, of course, this current side, they're going for their third premiership.
Yeah.
Is it fair to rate sides from the current era to the previous era?
Oh, the game's obviously changed so much. It's very, very difficult to compare. You know, in my view, the best West side ever was the 1966 side. The club, they call it the Golden Year. They went through 3 grades, minor and major premiers in the 3 grades, and obviously club championships. That was John Hobby's first year here. Alan Buman was West's first ever local international. He was playing in that side. Some of the Robbie Davies, Dennis Rouston. You've had a lot of internationals here. John Coots was here for a number of years. Dennis Ward was an Australian player and represented Australia from West on the 73 Kangaroo Tour. Johnny Raper came here. There were numerous other. Colin Maxwell, who captained the 48 Kangaroos, was a former West player. So yeah, there have been many notables here that played for West.
And not only players, you've had a few good coaches over the years.
There's been some great coaches here. 4 years is the longest anyone's ever coached here. Tony Price was another club legend, I think, coached for 4 years. Craig Miller's coached for 4 years. John Hobby. Been some great coaches here, but the one that's credited with turning it all around is a bloke called Rex Elvin back in 1961, who came down from Glen Innes and captain coached them, and the year they broke the drought.
The side's after a hat-trick of premierships this year. Do you think they can do it?
You know, we're undefeated at this point in time. We've got a very good team. We've got a very good coaching staff here. We're very hopeful that we can get through to the grand final, and secondly that we can win it on the day. But as I said earlier, most sides want to beat West, and you certainly go in a number one sports ground with a huge crowd support with you. You know, we think if we can get there, we're a pretty fair chance on the day. You know, we're a good side and we're well coached, and but it's a one-off game, and you just don't know what's going to happen on grand final days. A lot of favourites go down. Not saying that we're favourites for it, but we're probably up there. But we're hopeful that we can get through and do it. It's going to take a pretty good side on their day to beat us. We've had a couple of off days recently, but we've managed to scrape through. But it's a one-off event, and anyone can win a grand final.
It all comes down to 80 minutes.
It does, exactly that.
Mate, well, thank you very much for tonight. We do appreciate it, and
No.
taking our viewers on a walk down memory lane. I'm sure they've enjoyed it just as much as I've enjoyed standing here, and it all happens here, eh? Harker Oval's the place to be.
Yeah, the magnificent Harker.
Good on you. Appreciate
Thanks,
that.
cheers, mate.